Welcome everyone to the second in this series. I think we all know the situation we're in. It's an unprecedented time, and however we marketed our businesses or brands or charities, the old being able to go out and meet people, networking, trade shows, conferences, events, face-to-face meetings in general are proving a little bit challenging right now for obvious reasons. So your digital marketing strategy is more important than ever. And there are two main challenges really. The first is getting people to engage, getting people to, cutting through the noise and connecting with an audience and getting them to go to your website for further information. And the second one is when they're on your website, getting them to convert. And this is what this series is about. It's about providing free tips, free information to help you improve your engagement levels and help increase your conversion rates. So for those of you who don't know me or don't know us, we are Giant Peach. And today on the webinar, we have Meg and Jen. And Giant Peach is a creative agency. We create marketing strategy that drives growth, content that sparks connection, and user experience that converts. And we're lucky enough to work with some great brands across the country. And we work with these clients on brand strategy, brand creation, website design and development, subscription websites, e-commerce, video and photography. Whatever our clients need to help drive growth, we are there for our clients. So today's talk is around connecting with your audience, how important it is to connect with your audience now more than ever. And I know Jen and Meg have got some great content here, some great tips that are really going to help improve your strategies when it comes to this digital marketing. So I'm going to hand over to Jen and she's going to kick us off. So over to you, Jen.
Thank you very much, James. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really exciting to see you all. As James said, I'm Jen. I'm an account manager here at Giant Peach, and I'm going to start by taking you through a few tips with regards to your social media. So as James said, at the moment, we're all spending a lot of time at home, obviously, and that inevitably means that both we as brands and our consumers are spending a lot more time on social media. All these tips are things that we at Giant Peach are trying to. So if there's any questions you have, as James says, as we're going through, please keep them and ask us at the end and we'll help you answer them when we get to the end. So the first thing that we suggest doing is getting your ducks in a row. And what do we mean by that? Well, get your admin sorted out, basically. So have a really good look at all your social media profiles and update your key info. There might be a lot of things that have changed in recent weeks about your business and what you're doing. So have a really good look at your channels and see how they might need to reflect those changes in circumstances. So for example, are you using a different phone number now that you're working from home? Are your hours different? Are you open longer, open for shorter hours? With the example of the big supermarkets, they're obviously doing their special hours for either NHS or 65 plus people. If you're a food brand, are you perhaps offering takeaway or direct to consumer sales? Get them front and center in your bios so that people know what's changed and can find that information easily. Second suggestion is to perform a bit of a content audit. So have a really good look at what you've already got in terms of content and what you might be able to repurpose or carry on creating. So have you got blogs that you've perhaps started and never finished? Or have you got blogs that you've published previously quite a long time ago that you could make some really simple changes to bring them a bit more up to date for the current situation? Have a good look through your phone's gallery as well. There might be loads of pictures in there that you could use to post on social. I bet you'll find all sorts of things that you didn't even know you'd taken. If you're a food brand, perhaps some old recipes that you've created just cooking at home that you've shared on your personal channels that might work really well on your brand's channels as well. You probably want to take a look at your tone of voice and key messages as well, especially if you're a particularly sort of outspoken or positive brand. It might be time to just tone that down a bit where appropriate. But we're not suggesting that you sort of strip out any kind of brand personality, but we think the audience would probably appreciate and notice a slightly more gentle approach with things. I know that from talking to a lot of clients, colleagues, and even friends, that people have got really different attitudes towards the situation. So it's probably best to err on the side of caution and tread a bit more carefully, especially if you're going to address the current situation. Also have a little bit of a think about your audience and how things might be impacting them directly, dependent on what kind of demographic they fit into. So do you mostly talk to people who are 65 plus, or are you mostly talking to young working parents, or even fitness enthusiasts? Everybody's got their different challenges. So trying to appreciate those and reflect those in your comms is really important at this time. And then the last thing to think about when it comes to the sort of basic admin side of things is to have a really good look at your team and the people around you and see if they can diversify what they're doing to help your business grow. They might not have as much to do as they normally would. So have they got transferable skills that could help with social media? They might have a secret sort of personal TikTok profile that shows just how creative they are, and they could bring that to the brand. Or could they turn their hands to creating recipes? Or are they really good at photography? Or can they write beautifully? Are they wordsmiths? Could you identify somebody who could dedicate a seriously good chunk of time to creating that kind of content for you, other than the people that normally would, and bring a bit of a different perspective? So that's a bit of a roundup on the basics, and I'll hand you over to Meg to do the next section.
Thanks, Jen. So hi everybody, I'm Meg from Giant Peach, Digital Marketing Executive. So I'm going to take you through sort of some tactics to use on your social media comms. So first thing, be there. So now more than ever, it's important to not disappear. It's important to communicate with your audience and show empathy of the situation. It can seem frightening. You don't want to say the wrong thing. As Jen said, everybody's trying to be a bit careful about how they're approaching the subject. But to communicate with your audience, now is the best time to develop that brand loyalty and be present. Also being present actually online, so answering as many questions as you can and replying to any sort of communication that your customers are getting in touch with you in a timely manner, to sort of just prove that you're there. And by joining the conversation, you're connecting with the consumer's questions right now, so it's actually helping with whatever situations they need right now. So next thing is be open. So kind of extending on what Jen said a little bit with the messaging, make sure you really think about your messaging at the moment. Don't bury your head in the sand. Some brands, I think, have been a bit slow to actually comment on the situation and haven't really acknowledged it, which is fine. It's better than say the wrong thing. But quite a lot of the big brands that have really been present in the situation and have really been commenting and sort of getting that community spirit together and sharing how they are actually experiencing this, have communicated better with their consumers. So lean on your brand positioning and values to help you sort of navigate this new normal and still have your personality come through, but be open about the struggles that potentially your brand is dealing with as well, because it just makes it much easier for people to relate. So examples, got a couple of examples here. So obviously Costa, big brand, they've been very open and honest throughout the whole process of closing their stores. So obviously that's a bit drip fed because there was some closures of only some stores. The drive-throughs were still open, but they have now closed all. They've been very sort of, as soon as they know what's happening with them, they're communicating that with their audience. So it's everybody's on the same sort of level pegging there. And their messaging has been very open, empathetic and honest. And they've also done lots of stuff for NHS as well. So they've sort of been just very topical and very showing their empathetic side of the brand. Same with M&S, they've gone a little bit bit more warm and fluffy, I suppose, but they again have been very open, honest throughout the whole process of closing stores, and have released lots of different messages, keeping everybody up to date, honest and open. And again, they're being open about how it's affecting them. Be brave. So as Jen said, there's opportunities to learn here in this situation, and there might be members of your team that might have always wanted to try something, and why not utilize them? So be a bit brave with your comms and stuff you do on social media. So perhaps start writing blogs that you hadn't written before, hadn't got around to. hold live Q&As, so you could actually put yourself in front of the camera and be online and connect with your audience that way. Start webinars like we're doing. This is new for us, but it's been really nice to communicate people this way. And maybe even podcasts. Just try to use the opportunities that are there, and you might fail. There might be the first one might not be very good, but you'll learn from it. And there's just lots of opportunities to learn and just new opportunities to explore how you communicate with your audience. So a few examples. So New York Times Travel, they actually hosted a live Q&A on their Instagram stories, but then they captured the top questions and actually posted them on their feed. So this was quite an interesting approach, because the questions that were most popular would then stay on their feed. So they're basically doing consumer-led content there. So anybody going back onto their Instagram feed would be able to see the most frequently asked questions that might relate to them. So quite an interesting approach. WWF have created a Things to Do at Home series, where they actually ask their audience to share ideas with them of what they'd want to see. So this sort of again touched upon the being open and being honest and being brave, because the audience could suggest something that could be quite a challenge for the brand to actually put out. But it keeps conversation going and creates more of a level of connection. They're actually creating content that their consumers want to see. And then Vogue Paris has been a bit creative. They've done sort of From Home with Love. And this has been, they started with having some celebrities or some journalists or bloggers basically showing what they're doing at home. So it's like cooking recipes, gardening, things like that. But they've also now branched into getting some of their readers to get involved as well. So it's that similar sort of level of connection and actually really putting yourself just out there. But this is done in Instagram Live, and then they're putting it as TV, so it stays in their feed. So they've sort of utilised it the best way they can. So be helpful. So one of the things we're definitely seeing with loads of businesses and companies, everybody wants to help. Everybody wants to actually help each other, and which is lovely. It's lovely to see. Is there anything that you could do as a brand that you can offer as a free service? Could this be a special offer on some of your products that could help parents working from home potentially have like nice little recipes for the kids to make? Is there some free expertise or knowledge you could provide that's going to help people get through this themselves? Not only will sort of being helpful drive people to your site because it's content that's going to relate to them, but it will also connect them with you a bit better. So the more likelihood of having a stronger brand loyalty afterwards comes from doing this sort of activity. An example is National Geographic. So they've provided useful free resources, which usually is a subscription. So any news about coronavirus, scientific studies, articles is all free for everybody to just access. And then Reebok have been very interested. So they have basically said, what equipment do you have at home? Because we don't all have all the sports equipment that we'd like to actually go to our usual classes. And they are making content around that. So tailoring it around, again, what the consumer wants and what they need right now. And Rebecca Lockwood, so she is a mental health expert. So she's created a free Facebook group. So there are different things you can do. It's not just necessarily about making a video to put out. It doesn't have to necessarily be an image or information. You can actually sort of hone in on the community. So having a Facebook group where people can share things is a nice way to communicate with people as well. There's lots of different ways that you can connect right now. Headspace have also created a free series of meditations that are specifically around coronavirus. Now, I believe they've actually released even more now, specifically for New Yorkers. So there's like a series that they've done for New Yorkers going through this time. And it's just something that's very easy for them to do, to offer out for free, because they would have had this stuff anyway, but it's a nice way for people to think of them and what their brand represents and how they're helping each other. So then the most important thing is be human. And we, at this time, I think we've all sort of seen a shift in the way that people are using social media and are using their online tools. There's much more connection. It's a little bit less about selling and more about helping. So people are looking for brands that show their heart, show their personality and their willingness to support and understand. So the most important thing you could do is to actually show the human side of your brand and actually tell your story and connect to people on a human level. So on that note, the overall strategy here is to stop selling and start helping. So I'm going to hand back to Jen now.
Thank you very much, Meg.
There you go.
Thank you. So how do you get all these things out there? I mean, this is quite a good time to start really thinking about all the tools that you've got at your disposal, not just across your website, your blog, and your normal social media activity, but start trying to explore some new ways of reaching out to your audience that are sort of made for this time. We're all using digital to find ways to get some sort of human interaction, and there are lots of things out there that people are using for the first time. So Zoom, like we're doing now, House Party, lots of work-based tools that help with brainstorming and whiteboarding, and we're going to do, well, we've done a blog about that. If any of that's of use to you, we can point you in the direction. But there are also lots of features on the apps and software that you might already be using that it's really worth sort of having a look at, and get a bit creative with how you connect. So here are some examples of using those features. So YouTube has a feature called Live, and when you have subscribers to your channel, they will get a notification when you go live. So it's right there on their phones. They can't miss it. They can't. And this is exactly what Joe Wicks has been doing. I think everybody's probably heard about the huge numbers he's been getting for his daily PE lessons. I think something like 950,000 subscribers on the first day, and then lots of people catching up later in the day too. So this isn't just something that lives while it's live, it gets recorded, and people can catch up with it when they like. But I think a lot of people really love the live nature of this sort of thing. We can't go to public events together, but we can do it together digitally, like the famous hashtag that's being used together, hashtag alone together. It's that kind of sense of community that's really bringing people together in different ways. Chipotle, which is a sort of American restaurant chain, are even using Zoom, which a lot of people might see more of as a sort of work-based platform to get people hanging out together, that you can have a huge amount of people all on one Zoom call together. So it's a really nice way of people just literally being able to come on and have a chat, because on a very basic level, that might be what we're missing. A lot of fitness instructors are using Instagram stories and IGTV, Instagram TV. For example, 15-minute power flow that Kat Neffen's been doing. Other things you can do on IGTV are holding a live Q&A session. So it's a little less formal than Zoom, for example. You could be out on your daily walk doing it from your phone, see the questions coming in, and really engaging with your community that way. And how about jumping on some of the trends or stay-at-home challenges that various people have started? Not just the challenges, but is there something trending, like banana bread making was trending huge amount last week? Find something like that that really speaks volumes about your brand, that it makes sense for you to get involved in. And it really will help to show some personality and an element of humanity behind the brand. And at the moment, like Meg said, stop selling, start helping. This will all increase brand loyalty in the long run, so that when the time is right, people will come back to you when they're ready to. But if you do want to start looking at trying to sort of sell a bit more, or you need to, I mean, obviously we can't just down tools completely, it might be quite a good time to start looking at doing some paid advertising on social to really help push through the algorithms. It can be quite hard, obviously, to gain a large reach and sort of high impressions with organic content, so things that you just put out there without any push in terms of spend behind. And everybody's going to be doing it at the moment. So it's a really important thing to do, to drill down again into your audience, like I was talking about earlier, especially when it comes to advertising. Facebook in particular have the tools for you within the business manager to really, really look closely at who your audience are. So how old they are, where they are, what they're into. So before spending any money, it's really important to have a really good think about that, to make sure that you're reaching them and cutting through the noise, because everybody's doing it. Get as detailed as you possibly can. And when you can, make your content human, relatable, and relevant to the moment. So this is an example of a paid ad that Sweaty Betty, the sort of fitness wear brand did a couple of weeks ago now. So they've made their caption really relevant. What they're selling is really relevant. It's all about what you can wear when you're working from home, and they've done a huge discount on it. So they're kind of toning down the sales pitch by making it relevant. People genuinely might have the need for more comfortable clothing to wear at home. And as we said, it's relevant, it's not too pushy, and it's establishing that human connection as well, because they say that they're working from home too. Another idea that you could look at doing is a bit of partnering up. So what we mean by that is teaming up with like-minded brands. So whether it's simply sharing what they're doing or joining up from a business perspective, everyone is really pulling together to reach new audiences, and this is a great way of doing that. So on a practical level, there are a lot of taxi companies teaming up with food brands to get product out there. So the taxi drivers are still, kept in a job, and the food brands, perhaps they're sort of more wholesale brands, usually are putting together boxes that can be delivered to people. So it's really, fulfilling a genuine need that people have while still keeping the businesses going. But it doesn't have to be that complicated, just reaching out to brands that are on your wavelength and asking them for shares, or, offering perhaps a competition together is a really good way of reaching new audiences and helping each other out, which I think everybody is pretty keen to do at the moment. So that kind of brings us to the end of the presentation. But we'd love to have any questions, and I think James is going to help us moderate them if you wanted to send any through.
Just so everyone does know, we are here to help. I mean, if anyone's got any questions about any of their digital marketing, pick up the phone or drop us an email. We're happy to provide some free advice on, getting us through this. We all need to get through this. We understand and appreciate things are tough right now, so please do drop us a line. We're open to help out. It doesn't look like there's any questions. You answered them all, guys. Well done on that. So our next webinar is next Tuesday, and we're going to be talking about direct-to-consumer brands, and if COVID-19 is going to change the way we shop. So that's going to be Jen and myself. But please do sign up for that, and thank you all again for attending this morning. You're all very welcome, and we'll hopefully see you again next week. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.